year 1929, and everybody know that year because that was one of the worst years in American history. What a terrible year for America. And a terrible year for America means a terrible year for the rest of the world. But there's a little known story, and a lot of people don't know this, and I'm a humble man, or the God-fearing man. I don't like to brag too much, but I need to set the record straight. There was a way that we got out of that financial crisis, the Great Depression, as they called it. And I wasn't personally depressed, but a lot of people was, and back then they didn't. They had stopped using lobotomies, and if they had kept using lobotomy, perhaps there wouldn't have been no Great Depression. But nevertheless, there was no lobotomy going around. So we had to do good old-fashioned hard day's work, making your day's bread, to get through that. And the thing that people don't seem to understand is they think that the President Roosevelt got us out of that. And then they blame President Herbert Hoover, a personal friend of mine, for getting us into it. The first thing that you need to understand is the commies got us into the Great Depression. They did a lot of things that made America very, very unhappy. But the people who got us out of it was me and a company I had started that was called Build-A-Bear. The reason I tell this story is the other day I was at the mall and I sees me a store and it has a big sign on it and it says there's a store called Build-A-Bear. And I'm thinking, what in the world is this? And I don't understand what in tarnation going on. Why is it a Build-A-Bear in the mall? I never said that you had a permission to put my store in your mall. So as I walk into the Build-A-Bear, and they've got all my ideas everywhere and everything that I worked so hard to come up with to make the people happy in the 1930s. I goes up to the store clerk and I says to her, listen, miss, it did the Build-A-Bear that, solved the financial crisis. And she looks at me and she says, listen, old man, I don't understand what you're talking about. If you want to build a bear, you can go over there, talk to that gentleman right there, the little queer boy over there, and he'll build you a teddy bear. So I look at her and I says, miss, I don't think you understand. This is my company. What is going on? And she says, no, it's owned by Mr. Bear, and, he started this company in the 1990s. And I'm thinking, oh, no, the Americans, they got it wrong again because of the darn liberals and their fake history books and they're lying into the schools and, telling the kids all the wrong things in the wrong places at the wrong times. The truth is, 1929 rolled around, and the Great Depression had befallen all of us, even my good old pappy, a hard-working man, he's living in what they call the Hooverville. Everybody living in tents and drinking out of tin cups, living like beaux do, and this was before I had become a beau and joined the dancing family and became me a good old-fashioned yegg. Before I ran with the yeggs, before I did no stints in modern-day prison and for armed robbery and impersonating government official, but that's another story for another day. So, the problem is that with the Great Depression is all them fat cats and high rollers in Wall Street, they got us all screwed up. They did it again 10 years ago, but not as bad. And what happened is they had all these companies that was worth nothing because they didn't put work in the hands of real men and the people. So as I get together with my beau friend, I says, we're gonna have to do something about this because, Herbert Hoover, a good friend of mine, he's scratching his head and he give me a call and he says to me, buddy, my friend, you're the only one I trust to get us out of this financial crisis. You need to come to the White House immediately and help us figure this out. So as I look at the phone and I says to Mr. Hoover, I says, Mr. President, I come to you with the Washington, D.C., but the thing I'm gonna tell you, you got all these doctors and academics and high rollers and fancy pants sitting around in the White House trying to tell you what to do this way and that to solve the money crisis. You got, Dr. Egghead over there, putting up charts and all these fancy numbers and equations. You got Einstein here, can't even brush his own hair. How are you gonna expect him to fix a financial crisis? So I says to Herbert Hoover, I says, Mr. President, the way that we is actually gonna fix a financial crisis is we got to put people back to working with their hands. There ain't no honest work like a man who works with his hands. And a good friend of mine named Ford, you may know him as the inventor of the automobile. It's actually my idea, but he came up with the way to build it, and he did it all so gosh darn wrong. He created the assembly line, and it lost people their jobs, and it told the men, do not work with your hands, we're gonna use robots to do it. This is the way of the future. And I always was hollering and telling him, I said, Mr. Ford, you may have taken my idea for the Model T, but this assembly line business ain't gonna work. It's not honest, and this is not a way for a man to earn his daily bread. Lo and behold, years later, 1929 rolled around, and we's in a financial crisis, and everybody is depressed. That's why they call it the Great Depression. And you had it my way, we just do lobotomies, but we can't do lobotomies no more because all the commies don't want that. And I says to the president, I says, Mr. President, we need to start a place where people work with their hands and give power back to the people. So he looks at me and he says, so how we gonna do that? And I says back to him, well, there's this idea that I had storing around in my noggin for a while, and it's called Build-A-Bear. What you're gonna do is you get all the parts, and the men, they make the parts by hand, and then you go into the store, and the customer, they get to build their own teddy bear. And he looked at me and he said, like a Yellystone Bear? And I said, no, not no Yellystone Bear. We ain't selling real bears to people, you dummy. They're like teddy bear, like a stuffed animal, the kind of bear you build a bear. So the president approved a budget for Build-A-Bear. And in 1930, we opened the very first Build-A-Bear factory. Now, Herbert Hoover had already made a bad name for himself, and he loses the presidential seat. I'll make friends with this next president named FDR. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, very good friend of mine, I was kind of like a mentor to him. So he's, tells me he's gonna give me what they call a stimulus package for the Build-A-Bear company. And I says, I don't know nothing about no stimulus package, but you make sure you open the Build-A-Bear on every single coast of this great country, and I will make sure that you get out of this financial depression and the people be happy. Because everybody gonna be working with their hands. And I said, and don't make the same mistake Hoover did. We ain't talking no Yellystone Bear. Ain't no Yellystone Bear. This ain't Yogi the Bear. This is Build-A-Bear. We are building a teddy bear like the kind you hold in your hand and help you keep from having them nightmares at night. So as we start to Build-A-Bear and, years go by and everybody start working with their hands again. And they start realizing, this actually worked, and that's how I saved her from the financial crisis. So all of it come to a head, and I go on my merry way, hop the train out to California, and it's gonna go back with my fellow boys after I solved the financial crisis in 1929. I put Build-A-Bear behind me. I thought it had its time. Now, come a few years ago, I walking in the mall, just minding my own business with my guitar, busking for some tips in my tin cup, and I sees me a sign that said Build-A-Bear. Now, I'm really upset and potentially disturbed by this because if somebody took the Build-A-Bear name, they stole it from me. And I just want to put that out there and tell the true story of Build-A-Bear and help people understand that it was an important pursuit to save the great country America from the Great Depression because we didn't have lobotomies. We need to build a bear, and not no Yellystone Bear. So it's now, they stealing my ideas again and not giving me proper credit, but as a God-fearing man, I says I don't need no credit, but y'all still gonna have to do it. Next time is a financial crisis, which is coming, I guarantee you, it is coming. They're gonna have to get out of it on their own. So that's the true story. I'll build a bear, you'll keep that under your hat, and, I was thinking next time I tell you the story about the time I met, a man named Adolf Hitler in a country of Argentina, and bought him a beer. And I didn't tell you about that next time. All right now.